The silence between them pressed heavier than stone, each second a battle against his racing heartbeat. At last, Ji-won dared to speak, his voice softer than a whisper. "Your Highness, what do you mean by that? I am your wife. Nothing more, nothing less." Seo-jin's dark gaze lingered on him, unreadable, sharp as if it could cut through layers of flesh and bone. A faint scoff escaped his lips. "Wife?" he repeated, his tone laced with quiet bitterness. "Do you truly not know why I've kept my distance from you?" Ji-won blinked, struggling to keep his composure. I don't understand." Seo-jin drew back, his broad shoulders stiff beneath his royal robes. The firelight painted his features in bronze and shadow, making him look every inch the untouchable prince. "Then I shall enlighten you," he said, his voice low, controlled, but with an edge of restrained fury. Ji-won's breath caught as Seo-jin leaned closer, their faces nearly brushing in the intimate glow of the chamber. "I suspect your father, Minister Han," Seo-jin continued, "of colluding with the queen, my stepmother, Yeonji. Do you know why?" Ji-won's fingers froze on the bloodied cloth. "Colluding? No, I don't." Seo-jin's eyes narrowed, piercing him. "The queen is of the Han clan. Your father is her cousin. Together, they scheme to place her son, June, upon the throne. The king's health weakens by the day. Once he dies, succession will be contested. I stand in their way, and you, as a Han daughter, were forced upon me to tighten their hold, to bind me, and when the time is right." His words were like daggers. Seo-jin's gaze hardened. "They will kill me, and you will be married to June, who will wear the crown that should be mine." Ji-won's body went cold. His mouth opened, but no words came. His father, his clan, involved in treason? His heart thudded painfully in his chest. "No!" Ji-won finally burst out, his voice shaking but earnest. He lowered his gaze, hands clenching against his lap. "Your Highness, I swear to you, I know nothing of such a plot. I am not part of it. His throat tightened. "I would never wish you harm." The crown prince studied him in silence, the weight of his suspicion filling the air. At last, Seo-jin straightened, pulling back the sleeve that Ji-won had carefully bound. "We shall see," he murmured. "For now I will watch you closely. Do not think my guard will fall because of a few soft words." He turned to leave, but desperation urged Ji-won forward. He clutched the prince's sleeve timidly. "Wait. Then if nothing else, can we at least be friends?" Seo-jin paused, his back to him. For a moment, Ji-won thought he might have softened, but the prince's voice came cold, firm, unyielding. "No. Friendship requires trust. And I do not trust you." Ji-won's heart sank. Still, he forced a faint, trembling smile. "Then, perhaps, do not ignore me. Even if you suspect me, at least answer my greetings. For the sake of appearances, and for my dignity as your consort." At this, Seo-jin finally turned his head, his expression unreadable. After a tense silence, he gave a curt nod. "Very well. I will not ignore you." Relief loosened Ji-won's chest. It wasn't acceptance, but it was a start. He bowed his head, whispering, "Thank you, Your Highness." As Seo-jin disappeared into the night, Ji-won clenched his fists with quiet resolve. "If I must live in this cage of suspicion, then so be it. I will prove myself. I will earn his trust, no matter the cost." From that night forward, something subtle shifted. True to his word, Crown Prince Seo-jin no longer ignored Ji-won. He answered his greetings, short, clipped responses, yes, but to Ji-won, it felt like sunlight piercing through weeks of cold clouds. Each nod, each spoken word, no matter how small, left a strange flutter in his chest. Why does his acknowledgement mean so much to me? Ji-won asked himself countless times, yet he never found an answer. Perhaps it was this restless longing that drove him, one afternoon, toward the royal kitchen. The servants gasped and froze when the crown princess appeared in their domain, trailing her two maids. His delicate hands lifted pots, his eyes scanned spices, his sleeves tied back as if he had done this 100 times before. "My lady, please, you mustn't lower yourself to this task," one cook stammered, bowing deeply. But Ji-won smiled faintly. "It is no trouble. I wish to prepare something for His Highness." His maids exchanged glances, muffling their giggles. Later, when they were alone, one of them teased, "Our lady must truly be in love," sneaking into kitchens to please the crown prince. The other joined in with a mischievous grin. Yes, no one prepares treats for their husband unless they are smitten. Ji-won flushed and shook his head quickly. "Nonsense. I only do my duty as a wife. That is all." Yet, deep inside, he could not silence the warmth that burned at their words. That evening, Seo-jin was seated at his desk, scrolls and ink scattered before him. His brow furrowed as he pored over endless state documents, the candlelight casting sharp shadows across his handsome face. The sliding doors creaked open, and Ji-won entered, balancing a tray of delicately prepared snacks. The aroma of honey and sesame filled the air. Seo-jin looked up, startled, then frowned. "What is this? Did the kitchens send you?" Ji-won placed the tray on the desk, bowing slightly. "No, Your Highness. I made these myself." The prince's eyes narrowed. "You made them? For me?" Suspicion darkened his gaze. "How do I know they are not poisoned?" Ji-won's heart tightened at the words, but he did not falter. He picked up one of the honey cakes and bit into it before the prince's eyes. Chewing slowly, he swallowed, then said gently, "See, if there is poison, then it claims me first. You have nothing to fear." Seo-jin studied him for a long, silent moment. Then, cautiously, he picked up a piece. He bit into it, his eyes widening slightly as the flavor melted on his tongue. Without meaning to, he reached for another. "They are good," he admitted almost grudgingly. "Very good." Relief washed over Ji-won, and a faint smile curved his lips. Seo-jin's voice softened, almost imperceptibly. "You will prepare these for me each time I study." "That is an order." Ji-won bowed. "Yes, Your Highness." Days turned into weeks, and soon their routine was set. Each evening, Ji-won would arrive with fresh snacks. At first, he only lingered long enough to serve the prince. But little by little, Seo-jin allowed him to stay. One night, Ji-won stood quietly, listening to the crown prince mutter over complex political documents. Without thinking, Ji-won spoke up, his voice calm, steady. "Your Highness, if you adjust the tax levy on grain shipments, the provinces will recover faster from last year's drought. Raising tariffs on merchants instead might fill the treasury without burdening the common folk." Seo-jin stilled, lifting his gaze slowly. "And how would you know that?" Ji-won swallowed, forcing a light laugh. "I often listened to my brothers discuss such matters. I must have absorbed a little by chance." The prince's eyes lingered on him, sharp yet curious. "Humph, by chance, you say?" The following night, Ji-won offered another suggestion. Then another. Each time, Seo-jin tested him, asking questions, probing deeper. And each time, Ji-won answered with startling clarity, weaving his sharp wit behind the veil of a woman's intuition. Before long, the crown prince began inviting him to sit at the desk, sharing the scrolls, listening in silence as Ji-won read aloud and analyzed state affairs with precision that surprised even the most seasoned advisors. One evening, after a particularly difficult debate, Seo-jin leaned back in his chair, eyes never leaving Ji-won. "You are too clever to be caged in these chambers. You should join me in council." Ji-won froze, panic tightening his chest. "No, Your Highness, that would be improper. Women have never." Seo-jin cut him off firmly. "Then it is time that changes. Why should brilliance be hidden because of an outdated notion? You will come." Ji-won lowered his eyes, nerves gnawing at him, yet unable to argue against the commanding strength in Seo-jin's words. "As you wish." And so, Ji-won began to appear beside the crown prince during council sessions. Ministers were at first shocked, whispering among themselves. But when Ji-won spoke, his voice steady, his suggestions precise, The chamber fell silent in awe. "Such wisdom from the crown princess," one minister murmured. "Indeed," another said. "Her insight is remarkable." Seo Jin's lips curved into the faintest smile as he sat taller on his throne. His gaze flicked to Ji-won, pride shining where suspicion once lived. Ji-won bowed his head, hiding his racing heart. "If only you knew the truth of who I really am." Lady Eun-hee had always prided herself on her beauty and cunning, but nothing prepared her for the sight that greeted her that day. From a shaded pavilion in the palace gardens, she watched Seo Jin and Ji-won share tea beneath a canopy of fluttering blossoms. The crown prince's expression, usually carved from ice, had softened. His gaze lingered on Ji-won far too long, and, unthinkably, he smiled. Yoon-hee's nails dug into her palms. "He never smiled at me. Not once." Unable to restrain herself, she swept toward them, her silk robes whispering with restrained fury. The servants bowed as she entered, but she barely acknowledged them. "Your Highness," Eun-hee said sweetly, her voice edged like a blade. Her eyes darted to Ji-won, disdain dripping from her tone. "I see you are enjoying your new bride's company." Seo Jin glanced down, his face unreadable. Ji-won lowered his gaze politely, bowing in greeting. But Eun-hee was not satisfied. She stepped closer, her voice sharpening. "I don't understand you. Do you not see what is happening? This is exactly what the queen wishes. To place a Han woman by your side, to worm her way into your heart, to make you vulnerable. Already you are bewitched, Seo Jin. Already, you can't seem to notice this woman is only here to cause your downfall." Ji-won's face paled, his fingers tightening on the edge of his sleeve. But before he could speak, Seo Jin's voice cut through the tension, cool and commanding. "Enough, Eun-hee." His words held no hesitation. "You forget yourself. She is the crown princess, my wife. She is nothing like my stepmother. Don't make assumptions when you know nothing." Yoon-hee's lips trembled with outrage. "I am making assumptions? Your Highness, you already know the truth. You cannot." "I will not hear another word." Seo Jin's tone left no room for argument. His gaze hardened. "You will show her respect befitting her title, and you will abandon this fruitless pursuit. Whatever dreams you still hold of being at my side are fruitless. I have put up with your tantrums for so long. No more." The air stilled. Yoon-hee's chest rose and fell with anger, but she dared not defy him further. Seo Jin stood, his hand grabbing Ji-won's wrist in a subtle, protective gesture. "Come," he said softly. "We are leaving." Ji-won followed, his heart thundering in his chest as Yoon-hee's eyes burned holes into his back. When they were far from the gardens, Ji-won finally dared to speak, his voice tentative. "Your Highness, thank you for defending me, for standing by me." Seo Jin's eyes flicked toward him, dark and unreadable. Ji-won swallowed, summoning courage. "Then, does this mean we are friends now?" For a moment silence stretched. Then Seo Jin shook his head faintly. His voice, low and steady, sent a shiver through Ji-na. "No, you are not my friend, Ji-na. You are more than that." Ji-won blinked, startled. Seo Jin leaned closer, his breath brushing against his ear. "You are my wife, and I will protect you from anything that dares to harm you. I promise." The air thickened between them, charged with unspoken words. Their gazes locked, and slowly, Seo Jin's face inched closer. Ji-won's lips parted, breath trembling as if pulled by an invisible force. But just as their mouths nearly brushed, Seo Jin pulled away, his jaw tightening, eyes shadowed with restraint. He turned sharply, leaving Ji-won's heart racing and his lips aching with what might have been. That night, in her chambers, Lady Eun-hee raged. Porcelain shattered against the floor as she paced like a caged tigress. So, he defends her now. How can he be so foolish? She gritted her teeth. Fine. Choose to be blind, but I'm not going to let her have her way. I will save you from that tramp. Her eyes narrowed, sharp with venom. She beckoned her most trusted handmaiden. Send word to my spies. I want everything, every secret, every weakness the crown princess hides. There must be something. And when I find it, her lips curved into a bitter smile. I will destroy her. Thanks for watching. Do like and subscribe to the channel for more episodes. Ensure you turn on your notifications for more updates.